Discarded, deformed babies of the chemical age. Mutated, some unborn, dying in their fetal cage. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. Welcome to another very exciting, thrashy episode of Thunderdome Metal Reviews. As you may have guessed, if you listened really closely to the lyrics, we are about to review Exodus's new album, Persona non Grata. With me, as always, are the other three parts of the engine that make Thunderdome run. We got Ben, Gabriel, and Tracy with us. How are you, gentlemen?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think the beatings will continue until morale improves here.
I love that. I have that sign that says that in my office, which maybe says something about me. But yeah, yes, I'm ready for the beatings to continue. How are you, Benjamin?
You know, I am. The semester is coming to a close.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm surviving, as we all are at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very glad to be here talking about metal with you guys, and also talking about this classic thrash band that I will admit I was not overly familiar with.
Same. No, we should be. It's, we talk about people that weren't in the big four. That's when I saw it. I was like, we got to do this because they've been at this a long while.
Well, dude, and I love Gary Holt, and he's
me too.
Guitarist, so.
And he's been in this band since what, 81, I think.
I think he's one of the last remaining members in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he joined in 81. I think he left for a little while.
That's 40 years ago. That is older than half the people on this call.
Yeah, it's older than half the people.
Well, I was going to say everybody left the band twice at some point.
I think the drummer only left it once.
No, what I'm saying is the band broke up twice.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Well, it's a band now. So,
yeah. I'm sorry to step away. I was filling up one of my e-juice tanks, and the bottle lid on stuff just fell out and spilled over my hand. So,
and then you lit it on fire?
It's not quite flammable, but, high concentration of nicotine is not good for your skin.
I just want to make you say.
Yep, but we are Exodus.
Persona
non Grata.
Yep.
It was released this year in November 19th. It is their 11th studio album as well. It is on Nuclear Blast, and this is definitely a pandemic album because it was recorded in Tom Hunting's home studios. He's got 3 of them in his house. And it was produced by Exodus, and it's got a runtime of 60 minutes and 18 seconds. You got Steve Zetrozuza as lead vocals, Gary Holt as guitars and backing vocals, Lee Atlas as guitars, Jack Gibson as bass, and Tom Hunting on drums and backing vocals. Now, I do want to say Tom Hunting's a badass because apparently he had his entire stomach removed and still performed live afterwards.
Wait, how does he eat food?
I don't know. I think it's just attached directly to his small intestines. Like, it's called a gastrectomy, and that was enough information that I saw was total that I didn't need to know anymore.
Jesus.
Oh,
He had bad stomach cancer. And he did that Aftershock, Afterlive, Rockville, something like that. One of those concerts that were going on this year. Like, he played that live after having the surgery done.
Okay, then.
That's crazy.
So Tom Hunting is officially a badass.
I wonder which backing vocals are him and which ones are Gary Holt. Anyway. So, had any of you listened to Exodus?
Nope.
No. Okay, none of us had.
Well, I mean, I'd heard an album way back in the day, but I didn't really remember it.
I've heard Bonded by the Light a couple times, and that's their most well-known one. I think I have it. I've heard it, and I think I liked it enough to put it in a big playlist. I don't know. I've heard Bonded by the Light before, but this was the band that Kirk Hammett was in before he joined Metallica.
Indeed. Yeah, no, they're OGs.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, and as Tracy said, Tom Hunting is a badass. It is his esophagus has basically been attached directly to his small intestine, so he can only.
Did you look that up and find out?
I did.
Oh man!
So what does he have? Just like a liquid diet that's just pure vitamins?
No, he can eat stuff. He just can't eat a whole lot at one time. So he is basically like a has to eat all the time now.
8
And
meals,
probably,
a couple granola
Yeah.
bars is a meal. Probably no 16-ounce steaks in his future.
probably not all in one sitting anyway.
Dude.
So
Yeah.
I really don't know a lot about this band, but one of the things that I heard was that they're kind of middle of the pack, like OG thrash, like not the
Mhm.
best, not the worst, just kind of your standard. I found a good bit of this album easy to listen to and quite fun. Where I had concerns, I would say, is like some of the songwriting I found a little bit repetitive. And then I also, when I listened to some of the lyrics more closely, I also found those problematic, like a little bit politically regressive, and maybe their targets, the targets of some of their ire are misplaced. They're sort of angry at someone, but they're kind of angry at the wrong people. For one, journalists. I don't think that journalists are responsible for fake news necessarily. I think that there are other people other than journalists who are creating that. So I don't know if that means a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but for this record, they seem to be getting into some political commentary, and I would just say they should probably stick to something else.
I feel like they're getting into a lot of political commentary in this album. A lot. They're not,
Yeah,
not what I'm a personal fan of.
What, political commentary or their political commentary?
Their political commentary.
Yeah, that's fair.
But-
Sorry, you go ahead, Tracy.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, these guys are often chunked as like, as we said, thrash, not the next big four who would be part of the tier below them. And these guys are off on there. And even then, I think you have a couple bands that get named above them, such as Testament and Creator. That's probably the two major examples who are
Mhm.
even still like a tier above them between the big four. And so I think that might be due to also their personal history of having a few 5-6 hour lapses in their band as a whole. And I think part of it is also their vocalist sucks. I mean,
He's not great. Ben said it the other day. He's like, he's a Muppet. I'm like, that's what I'd been thinking of, man. No, he is, and not even like Cookie Monster. He's more like, I don't know, Elmo or Telly.
yeah. He honestly reminds me of the vocalist for Overkill, which I don't know if you guys have listened to that any.
I have. I've listened to Overkill a lot more than Exodus.
And
I liked Overkill okay, but it has that same issue. It's a fine line between being Dave Mustaine and being like Telly, the Muppet. And this guy crosses it.
yeah.
So I do agree that the politics of this band are slightly regressive, but I think the politics of all the thrash bands from the 80s have probably reached that point at this juncture in time. I think that I appreciate their anger. I agree that it is somewhat misdirected. Thrash is generally a political genre, so I wasn't upset that it was political, although I didn't necessarily agree with their politics either, but it didn't really hinder it didn't have rampant calls for genocide or homophobia, so yeah, I can
that's a win, right?
Yeah.
2021, that's a huge win.
So
low standards, low bar.
And the politicalness in thrash also, I think, harkens back to the punk, their background in punk.
It comes out of that. And this was a very weird album because in that I thought the playing was fantastic. I agree with Gabe that it was very easy to listen to. Gary Holt is a phenomenal guitarist. You are not asked to join Slayer to replace Jeff Hanneman if you are not. I thought that I agree that the songwriting was limited a little bit by the genre in ways that other bands that we've listened to this year doing thrash were not. But man, I know he's like the only guy who's ever recorded vocals with them, but fuck, man, he makes it hard to listen to for me. I mean, I'm sure that we're going to get like Zosa stance out there like, fuck you guys. But
Oh, sure. I mean, there was another singer that I think it's like Zeus or Ziltra started it, and then they hired a guy or got another singer who died, and then Ziltra replaced
That
him
was the
again.
original singer who didn't actually record anything with them. Sosa was on the original album. Then Sosa left. They got him to come back in, and he did some tours with them. But then he died before they could record anything with him again.
So shit.
Yeah, at least that's my understanding. I might be slightly off, but yeah. And I mean, it's not like he's terrible. I mean, it's there are. I mean, he's easier to listen to than some of the early Cannibal Corpse stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I really like what the vocals on 6 Feet Under better than the vocals on here. So Glenn Barnes come giveth and he taketh away. But this guy, which is hard to take some of it seriously. I mean, it would be like listening, like you said, like listening to Elmo fucking
For sure.
release a Megadeth album. So
That's exactly what it was. I also want to draw attention to the fact that both you and Tracy are adamant that his name is Glenn. Like every day, it's both of you do it. I'm like, his name is not Glenn Barnes. Who's
It's
Glenn
Chris.
Barnes? It's his cousin, Glenn. It's only funny because you both do it every time.
We're turning them. We're trying to create the death metalist of death metal vocals
I
with
feel
Glenn Benton and Chris
we're trying
Barnes.
to get Glenn Benton.
You're trying to create an alternative timeline. Anyway,
We're trying to make the super Danzig or
It's
something.
a Frankenstein death metal singer.
It's Chris Danzig.
It's Frankenstein's
Chris
monster
Danzig.
for sure. It's Frankenstein's monster for sure.
You know, I like Mustaine's vocals. He's a weirdo too. And Tom Araya, honestly, if we take a step back, it's an acquired taste. This one was harder for me. I don't know. It is vocals. It's better than Glenn Barnes' early albums, but it detracted for sure. And I agree with you. It suffers a bit from lack of variety, but that's also kind of an 80s thrash thing. So
I think the vocals have been more bearable if they weren't as prominent in the mix. Because
that's
things,
true.
They sit right on top of everything, and you can hear his vocals over the guitar and everything. And I think that the strong point of this is the drumming and Gary Holt, and as the musicians, and his vocals just detract from it so much.
And when Gary and or Tom come in, like I was like, oh, that sounds a little bit like Max Cavalera, and then it would go away. I'm like, damn it. Like, so the backing vocals on this are actually all right. I wish they were the vocals.
Yeah.
But
I think if you put the vocals much further back in the mix, you wouldn't have been able to understand what the fuck he was saying.
Probably not.
Probably not, which you know what? It just slipped into death metal at that point. And David's not arguing because he knows it's true.
I mean, it's pretty true. You have to drop it about an octave, and we need more Cookie Monster than Elmo. But
What's interesting though is like the places on the record where they kind of try to reach out a little bit and branch out slightly in the kind of style that they're doing. Some of that is going in the death metal direction, but they don't really make it because they just don't have the chops at all. Like they don't have the songwriting chops for that. And also they don't have the style together really to do it. So they are kind of reaching in that direction on more than one track here.
Yeah, I agree. It's fast and heavy. I'll give it that.
It is.
Yeah.
It's fast, heavy, and political, which are usually things that I like. So
Same.
shall we talk about songs?
Jawohl.
Let's do it. And I hit the button this time, guys.
Yay.
Hey.
Tracy did it.
Yay. Pay raise for me.
Jeffrey Bezos.
I guess I'll go first. I think this album falls off halfway through it. I think after
I thought you were going to say track one. After track one, this album sharply. I was like, shit. Because you hadn't talked about it. You're like, this album just falls off. It opens. And okay, sorry. Go on.
So I think it starts like Persona non Grata, REMF, Slipping into Madness. REMF's okay, but Slipping into Madness, Elitist Prescribing Horror, and the beatings will continue to morale and Bruce. I think it's good, but after that, it really kind of just falls off a cliff, I think.
Do you think it falls off a cliff or is just more of the same?
More of the same, falls off the cliff. I mean, what's the difference? It's not
Well,
as
There's a
good.
difference.
It
I think
doesn't.
there's a
It
difference.
doesn't. The back half doesn't stick out.
I can see that. And I think Costa del Pontano is that's all right, but doesn't do much. Yeah, I thought it suffered more from sameness than a dramatic change in quality from beginning to end. Nearly all these songs are fun. They're fast. They're heavy. That thalidomide thing I was reading to you, Jesus, y'all. You know, I get why people consider them sort of a classic, if not an iconic thrash band. So I was happy to listen to it, even if the vocals mess with me. But no, almost all these tracks are okay.
That's kind of where I fall in them. I think that they are all competently played anyway for the genre. None of them were super distracting. It really took me out of it. It was just kind of like, okay. Persona non grata, I think, is a good opener. Slipping into Madness, Describing Horror, Clickbait. It's just there's not a whole lot. These are all decent, but nothing that really rises to spectacular as far as individual tracks go.
Yeah, I think so.
I think as far as tracks that stood out for me, I liked REMF. I liked The Beatings Will Continue. And I liked Lunatic Liar Lord. I liked tracks other than that, but I thought those were the best. And I mean, some of the songs that have really terrible politics, I even thought were pretty catchy. But like I said before, I don't think the death metal experiments work, and I also don't really know what the instrumental is doing there. So yeah, not a whole lot of standout tracks, I would say.
I do want to say I think Prescribing Horror is the Slayer song on the album. I think that song doesn't happen without Gary Holt's time in Slayer.
Yeah, I don't know enough of their back catalog to know, but it's certainly Slayer adjacent.
It sounds very Slayer-y.
Well, good. That's great.
It's Bay Area thrash, so
yeah, for sure.
All right, gentlemen, let's put some grades on it.
Yeah.
David,
David, you picked it.
I know, and I'm pondering. I'll give it a B-, because Gary Holt's so good. The drumming is so good, especially now the dude doesn't even have a stomach; it's just an esophagus and an intestine.
Yeah,
it's been ripped out of him, and he's still playing. Politics occasionally questionable. That was true some of the '80s thrash as well. But the playing is so fucking good that even though their singer's a Muppet, I'm gonna give them a B-.
Yeah, Pansy. I'm giving it a C, 75.
Shit, really? Oh well, I love thrash a lot.
A few standout tracks, and I mean it's.
Yeah, you're right. Fine. I'm still going up to the B- because I love thrash so much.
Well, I don't think that there are any standout tracks, but I think it's a solid album. So I'm going to go with a B- as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 79.5 because it's sort of like a B- trending towards C+.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it necessarily gets a whole lot better the more I listen to it, but I mean, it's certainly competent. Like, it's totally serviceable. It's not, it's not very offensive.
I swear to God, I thought you were going to say, you're just like, I'm going to give it A. I was like, wait, what? I was like, oh shit, Gabe.
I was like, really?
This album is an A. It's a legendary album. I was like, that's not how you were talking a second ago.
Just when you think you have Gabe's grading figured out,
nope.
It's a giant fake out.
I guess we all thought that. We were like, what? I'm going to give it a, not an A. A C plus. Well, damn. I guess we don't have Gabe figured out. What do we have coming up next, Tracy?
We have an album coming up that I'm pretty sure is going to be very. Oh wait, the Thunderdome average for this album was an 80, right at a B-. And the next album, oh, well, we forget about it.
Yeah,
we're not professionals here. We're just doing this for fun.
Yeah, we've only been doing it for 3 years.
I know. But our next album, I'm pretty sure, will be just as divisive in grading as this one was, as we look at Slipknot's 5th album, The Great Chapter.
Sexy skeleton.
That is another cover I've never seen this large. What the? Okay. I mean, I've seen it little on my phone.
Okay. Hey, David's
wow.
I have a new fetish.
I mean, I don't know if that's where this takes me. Especially knowing what I know about Slipknot, this takes me into maybe I should go somewhere else place. Also, there's like a tiny face in the bot. I don't know. There's a lot happening there.
There's a lot.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Thundum Metal Reviews.
Find out what a lot is going on next time.